The Wadi invasion came without warning. A ruthless alien empire appeared in Earth's skies, obliterating the planet's defenses in mere hours with technology far surpassing our own. Billions died in the initial onslaught as the Wadi bombarded cities from orbit, reducing them to rubble and ash. Emperor Fenris, the cunning and merciless leader of the Wadi, commanded the assault from his ominous flagship, savoring the swift victory over the primitive humans. But Fenris underestimated humanity's tenacity. In the ruins of shattered cities, pockets of resistance emerged, led by battle-hardened soldiers like Arthur Porter. With Earth's space fleet crippled and conventional warfare futile, Porter and other survivors turned to guerrilla tactics, striking from the shadows. They used their knowledge of the terrain and sheer grit to slow the aliens' advance, buying time with blood. Yet Porter knew they were fighting a losing battle. The Wadi's resources were vast, their technology superior. As more of Earth fell under occupation, whispers of mass executions and forced labor camps revealed the price of resistance. Porter realized they needed a game-changer, or humanity would be enslaved within weeks. A daring raid on a crashed Wadi ship yielded fragments of alien technology and data that could turn the tide, if Porter's team could unlock their secrets. Racing against time, Earth's last defenders prepared to strike back with scavenged and reverse-engineered weapons. The fate of the human species hung by a thread. From orbit, Fenris watched, dismissive of the primitives' futile struggles. But he would soon learn the folly of underestimating a species that would unleash hell itself to protect its home. In the bowels of the Resistance hideout, the acrid stench of scorched metal and ozone hung thick in the air. Dr. Samantha Chen hunched over the Wadi quantum computer, her fingers flying across the alien interface as lines of indecipherable code flickered on the screen. Sweat beaded on her forehead, the weight of humanity's fate pressing down on her shoulders. A sharp hiss drew her attention. On a makeshift cot nearby, Mike Hernandez lay, his face ashen and slick with sweat. Blood-soaked bandages swathed his chest and abdomen where Wadi plasma rounds had torn through his body armor. Arthur Porter knelt beside his friend, gripping his hand. "Mike, stay with me," Porter urged, his voice cracking. "We're going to get you patched up. Just hold on." Hernandez forced a weak grin. "Always knew I'd take a bullet for you. You bastard," he rasped. "Just make it count." Porter squeezed his eyes shut, eyes hardened. He'd left men behind before, but never like this. Never his closest friend, his brother in arms. The guilt gnawed at his gut like a ravenous beast. A sudden chirp from the quantum computer snapped him back to the present. Dr. Chen let out a triumphant whoop. "I've got it," she exclaimed. "The files are decrypted. We have the data on the Wadi's energy shielding." Porter surged to his feet, crossing to her side in 2 long strides. He scanned the alien schematics and diagrams, his heart pounding. There, buried in the complex web of circuitry and phase equations, lay the key to their salvation. A weakness, a chink in the Wadi's seemingly impenetrable armor. "This is it," he breathed. "This is how we fight back." Dr. Chen nodded grimly. "But we'll need to get close to their main power generators, and that won't be easy." Porter's mind raced, already forming the rough outlines of a plan. A series of surgical strikes, daring raids on the heavily fortified Wadi installations. They'd need every scrap of ingenuity, every ounce of courage they could muster. He thought of the atrocities Fenris had ordered, the innocent lives snuffed out by Kesrek's cruelty. Anger kindled in his chest, hardening into cold, adamant dedication. Regardless of the cost, no matter the odds, they would make the Wadi pay. For Earth, for humanity, for every man, woman, and child who had fallen beneath the alien onslaught. Porter turned to his assembled team, the ragged remnants of Earth's resistance. "Listen up," he barked. "We've got a chance to hit the Wadi where it hurts. It won't be easy, and some of us may not come back. But by God, we're going to make them bleed." Grim nods and murmurs of assent greeted his words. These were warriors, survivors, forged in the crucible of war. They knew the stakes, the sacrifice that victory would demand. As Porter laid out the first steps of their audacious plan, he felt a flicker of something he'd thought long extinguished. Hope, Against all challenges, against the might of an alien empire, they would fight. And if they had to, they would die on their feet, taking as many of the Wadi with them as they could. In the skies above, Emperor Fenris brooded on his flagship's bridge, unease coiling in his gut as reports of the humans' brazen raid reached him. These primitives were proving more troublesome than he'd anticipated. No matter, he would crush them like insects beneath his heel. "Kezrek," he growled, "find the resistance, burn them out, leave none alive." The general bowed, a predatory gleam in his eye. "As you command, Emperor." The lines were drawn, the battlefield set. In the ruins of Earth, the last stand of humanity was about to begin. The acrid stench of ozone and scorched metal permeated the air as Porter and his team crouched in the shadows of the ruined London skyline. The hulking silhouette of the Wadi power generator loomed before them, its alien architecture a stark reminder of Earth's occupation. "Remember," Porter whispered, his eyes scanning the perimeter. "We hit fast and hard. Chen, you're on point with the prototype. The rest of us provide cover." Dr. Chen nodded, her hands steady as she clutched the phase harmonic device. Months of reverse engineering Wadi tech had led to this moment. Porter gave the signal, and they moved. The team slipped through the complex's outer defenses with practiced ease, years of guerrilla warfare evident in their fluid movements. As they approached the generator's core, a sudden hiss of hydraulics froze them in place. "Intruders detected," a metallic voice rang out. "Surrender or be terminated." Commander Zara stepped into view, flanked by a squad of Wadi soldiers. Their energy weapons hummed with lethal intent. "Now!" Porter roared, diving for cover as plasma bolts seared the air. The humans returned fire, their scavenged weapons no match for Wadi technology. Chen scrambled towards the generator, desperation fueling her sprint. "Chen, detonate it now," Porter ordered, his voice barely audible over the cacophony of battle. She hesitated, her finger hovering over the trigger. Activating the device now meant certain death for them all. A thunderous explosion rocked the complex. Through the smoke and debris, Porter glimpsed a familiar face, Captain Elena Ivanova, leading a fresh squad of resistance fighters. "Thought you could use a hand, Porter," Ivanova shouted, her team laying down suppressing fire. With renewed vigor, Porter's squad pushed forward. Chen reached the generator, quickly attaching the prototype to its pulsing core. "It's done," she yelled, sprinting back towards the others. Porter slammed the detonator. The world erupted in blinding light and deafening sound. As the shockwave hit, he felt himself lifted off his feet, hurled through the air like a rag doll. When the dust settled, Porter found himself sprawled on the ground, ears ringing. The generator lay in ruins, Wadi forces scattered and disoriented. Through the haze, he saw Chen and Ivanova, battered but alive. Commander Zara emerged from the wreckage, her alien features contorted with rage. "This isn't over, humans," she snarled before disappearing into the chaos. As reports flooded in of similar strikes across the globe, a flicker of hope ignited in Porter's chest. For the first time since the invasion, humanity had landed a significant blow against the Wadi Empire. But their victory was short-lived. General Kezrek's response was swift and merciless. Sleek, deadly Vanguard drones filled the skies, their sensors probing for any sign of human resistance. In the underground bunker serving as their makeshift headquarters, Porter and the other resistance leaders gathered to plan their next move. The air was thick with tension and exhaustion. A burst of static from their communications array cut through the somber mood. A voice, unmistakably Wadi, but lacking the usual arrogance, filled the room. "This is Alara," the voice said. "I have information vital to your cause. Not all Wadi support this war. Help me, and I can give you the means to end it." Porter exchanged wary glances with Ivanova and Chen. Could this be the breakthrough they needed, or was it an elaborate trap? As Alara began to reveal the location of a secret Wadi research facility, Porter knew they faced their most perilous mission yet. But with humanity's future hanging in the balance, they had no choice but to seize this opportunity, no matter the risks. The bunker's comm system crackled with static as Alara's transmission faded. Porter's mind raced, weighing the potential risks against the promise of vital intelligence. He locked eyes with Ivanova, her expression mirroring his own mixture of hope and suspicion. "It could be a trap," Ivanova said, voicing the thought on everyone's minds. Chen shook her head. "We can't afford to ignore this. If there's even a chance—" Porter's lips pursed. "Agreed. We'll proceed with caution, but we're taking this shot." In the days that followed, Porter assembled an elite strike team. Ivanova's tactical expertise would be crucial, as would Chen's technical knowledge. Most surprising was the inclusion of Ilara herself, the Wadi defector materializing from the shadows with a wealth of inside information. The team's target, a secret Wadi research facility on the fringes of the Sahara. As their stealth transport skimmed low over the dunes, Porter studied the alien structure looming on the horizon. Its angular architecture seemed to defy gravity, a stark contrast to the windswept sands below. "Security will be heaviest at the main entrance," Ilara said, her multifaceted eyes gleaming in the low light of the cabin. "There's a maintenance hatch on the eastern side, less guarded, but still risky." Porter nodded grimly. "That's our way in." The assault began with clockwork precision. Ivanova's diversionary tactics drew the bulk of the Wadi forces to the facility's western perimeter. Meanwhile, Porter led the main strike team to the maintenance hatch. Chen's hacking skills made short work of the alien lock, and they slipped inside. The interior was a maze of twisting corridors and pulsing energy conduits. Ilara guided them deeper, past laboratories filled with strange, bubbling vats and rooms lined with incomprehensible machinery. A klaxon suddenly blared. "Intruder alert!" an artificial voice droned. "All security forces converge on Sector 7. "So much for stealth," Porter muttered, readying his weapon. They rounded a corner and found themselves face to face with a squad of Wadi soldiers. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air as both sides opened fire. Porter dove behind a pillar, the acrid smell of ozone stinging his nostrils. Through the chaos of the firefight, a familiar figure emerged. Commander Zara, her alien features twisted in a snarl of recognition. "You," she hissed, locking eyes with Porter. "The human vermin who destroyed our generator." She lunged forward, energy blade humming to life. Porter barely had time to parry with his own vibro knife before she was upon him. They clashed in a blur of strikes and counterstrikes, their combat styles a stark contrast of human adaptability and alien precision. Zara's superior strength began to tell. She drove Porter back, step by step, until his shoulders hit the wall. The energy blade inched closer to his throat, its heat searing his skin. A blur of motion caught Porter's eye. Ilara charged forward, tackling Zara with unexpected ferocity. "Go!" she shouted to Porter. "Complete the mission!" Porter hesitated for a split second, then sprinted down the corridor with the rest of the team. They fought their way deeper into the facility, finally breaching the inner sanctum. What they found inside stopped them cold. Massive tanks lined the walls, filled with grotesque, half-formed creatures. Human and Wadi features blended in nightmarish combinations, some still twitching, others eerily still. "By all that's holy," Chen whispered, her face pale, "they're creating hybrids." A bestial roar echoed through the chamber. From the shadows emerged a hulking figure, its body a patchwork of human and Wadi anatomy. Muscles rippled beneath mottled skin as it lumbered towards them with terrifying speed. "Open fire!" Porter bellowed. Their weapons blazed, but the creature shrugged off the hits like they were nothing more than insect bites. It barreled into their formation, scattering them like bowling pins. Porter rolled to his feet, his mind racing. How could they stop this abomination? Ivanova's voice cut through the chaos. "The tanks! Rupture the fluid lines!" Understanding dawned. Porter signaled to the team, and they concentrated their fire on the delicate tubing feeding the incubation chambers. Viscous liquid sprayed across the floor as the hybrid howled in rage. In the confusion, Chen darted to a central console. Her fingers flew across the alien interface, bypassing the security protocols. "I've got it!" she shouted triumphantly, yanking a glowing data core from its housing. "The bioengineering data!" A klaxon blared, accompanied by a computerized voice. "Warning, Self-destruct sequence initiated. All personnel evacuate immediately. Time to go, Porter said grimly. They fought their way back through the facility, dodging collapsing corridors and bursts of escaping energy. As they neared the exit, they encountered Alara. The Wadi defector was battered and bleeding, but still standing. Of Commander Zara, there was no sign. "She won't trouble us again," Alara said, her voice weary. They burst out of the facility just as the first explosions rocked its foundation. Porter's team sprinted across the sand, the searing heat of the detonation at their backs. They dove into their waiting transport as pillars of fire erupted behind them, reducing the Wadi Research Center to smoldering ruins. As they soared away from the devastation, Porter allowed himself a moment of grim satisfaction. They'd struck a significant blow against the Wadi war machine, but the horrors they'd witnessed in that facility left a cold, sick feeling in the pit of his stomach. Chen's voice broke the tense silence. "I've started analyzing the data core," she said, her face illuminated by the glow of her tablet. There's more. So much more." She looked up, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and revulsion. The genetic engineering was just the beginning. They're working on mind control technologies, viral agents to strip away free will. The depths of their depravity? Porter's fists clenched. They'd won a battle, but the war had taken an even darker turn. As the transport sped towards their hidden base, he knew the true test of humanity's purpose was only just beginning. Porter's team returned to their hidden base, the weight of their discovery heavy on their shoulders. As Chen delved deeper into the stolen data, the true scope of the Wadi's plans became clear. The genetic engineering, the mind control research, it was all part of a larger strategy to subjugate humanity completely. "We need to act now," Porter declared, addressing the assembled resistance leaders. "This intelligence gives us a fighting chance. It's time to take the fight to them." Over the next weeks, a global counteroffensive took shape. Resistance cells across the planet coordinated their efforts, targeting Wadi strongholds and supply lines. Porter found himself at the center of it all, directing thousands of fighters across multiple fronts. The offensive began with a series of surgical strikes. Guerrilla teams, armed with Chen's countermeasures against Wadi tech, disabled Vanguard drone control centers. As the alien flying fortresses fell from the sky, human forces surged forward. In New York, Ivanova led a daring assault to reclaim the city. Her squad moved through the concrete canyons, engaging Wadi patrols with deadly precision. The Resistance's new weapons, reverse-engineered from captured alien tech, evened the odds. "Push them back," Ivanova shouted, her voice carrying over the din of battle. "For Earth!" Similar scenes played out across the globe. In Tokyo, London, Moscow, humanity clawed back its cities one block at a time. Porter coordinated it all from a mobile command center, his eyes never leaving the tactical displays as reports flooded in. But the Wadi were far from defeated. As human forces liberated Shanghai, the aliens unleashed their newest weapon. A strange mist descended on the city, and those caught in it went slack-jawed and glassy-eyed. "What's happening?" Porter demanded, watching the live feed with growing horror. Chen's voice crackled over the comm. "It's some kind of psychotropic agent. They're turning civilians into puppets." The affected humans shambled forward, mindlessly attacking resistance fighters. The offensive ground to a halt as soldiers struggled with the moral quandary of engaging their own people. Porter's eyes hardened. "Chen, I need a solution, fast." As the scientist and her team worked around the clock to analyze the viral agent, Porter shifted tactics. Stealth teams infiltrated Wadi command centers, gathering intel and disrupting operations. One such mission brought them face-to-face with General Kesrek, the Wadi military mastermind. The alien commander sneered as he was brought before Porter in restraints. "You think this changes anything?" Kesrek hissed. "Our contingencies have contingencies. Even now, a final solution awaits activation, a pathogen that will cleanse this world of all complex life." Porter's blood ran cold, but he kept his face impassive. "Then I suppose we'd better stop you, before that happens." As the human resistance pressed on, the Wadi grew increasingly desperate. Reports came in of grotesque hybrid creatures on the battlefield, the fruits of their bioengineering research now unleashed. Elara proved invaluable in combating this new threat. Their cellular structure is unstable, she explained, poring over captured specimens. Exploit that weakness, and they'll fall. The tide of battle ebbed and flowed. Human forces reclaimed territory, only to be pushed back by waves of mind-controlled civilians or monstrous hybrids. But slowly, inexorably, they gained ground. Then came the breakthrough they'd been waiting for. Chen burst into the command center, her eyes wild with excitement. "We've done it! An airborne antidote to the psychotropic virus!" Within hours, specially equipped aircraft soared over occupied cities, releasing clouds of the curative agent. The fog lifted from countless mines, and the ranks of the resistance swelled with newly liberated fighters. As Porter directed the final push towards the Wadi's central command, a chilling message came through. Emperor Fenris, maddened by defeat, had authorized the release of the doomsday pathogen. "All units converge on these coordinates," Porter ordered, his voice tight with urgency. "We have minutes to prevent global extinction." The assault on the Wadi headquarters was chaos incarnate. Human and alien forces clashed in the twisting corridors, while Porter's team raced against time to reach the pathogen deployment center. With seconds to spare, they burst into the control room. Chen's fingers flew over the alien console, disarming the release mechanism, just as the countdown reached 0. In the eerie silence that followed, Porter allowed himself a moment of relief, but he knew the war was a long way to go. Even now, Wadi ships were rising into the atmosphere, fleeing the planet they'd failed to conquer. "Prep all available craft for pursuit," Porter commanded, his eyes fixed on the sky. "We end this, now and forever." Porter's eyes never left the tactical display as the human fleet pursued the retreating Wadi ships into the inky blackness of space. The stars blurred into streaks as they pushed their engines to the limit, following the alien vessel's trajectory towards what intel suggested was their homeworld, Hero Prime. "All ships, prepare for engagement," Porter's voice rang out over the comm. "We don't know what we're flying into, but expect heavy resistance." As if on cue, the sensors lit up with a sea of red dots. An immense Wadi armada materialized before them, a filled wall of ships guarding their home system. "Outnumbered at least 3-1, Chen reported, her face grim in the blue glow of her console. Porter's mind focused. "Then we'll just have to hit them 3 times as hard. All ships, attack pattern Delta, punch through their line." Human vessels surged forward, weapons blazing. The void erupted in a dazzling light show of plasma bolts and energy beams. Explosions bloomed silently as ships on both sides succumbed to the onslaught. "We're taking heavy losses," Ivanova shouted over the din of alarms. "Their plasma cannons are tearing us apart." Porter gripped his chair as the ship shuddered under another near miss. "Press on! We're almost through!" Just as they breached the defensive line, a brilliant lance of energy split the darkness. It sliced through Allied ships like they were made of paper, vaporizing entire squadrons in an instant. "What in God's name was that?" Porter demanded. Chen's fingers flew over her console. "Energy readings off the charts. It's coming from the planet's surface. Some kind of superweapon." The beam pulsed again, carving a swath of destruction through the human fleet. Porter's mind raced, searching for a solution as their numbers dwindled. "Sir," Chen's voice cut through his thoughts, "the weapon has a recharge cycle. If we can hit it before it fires again—" Porter nodded grimly. "It's our only shot. All remaining ships, form up on me. We're going in." He plotted a collision course for the beam's point of origin, a sprawling metropolis on Hero Prime's surface. "Divert all power to shields. We're going to ride that beam right back to its source." The fleet plunged towards the planet, engines straining. The superweapon's maw began to glow with building energy. "Now!" Porter roared. Ships engaged their warp drives at the last possible second. Space twisted around them as they narrowly deflected the beam, their reinforced shields barely holding against the onslaught. Then came the impact. Porter was thrown from his chair as the bridge exploded around him. Klaxons blared and emergency lights bathed the chaos in an eerie red glow. When his vision cleared, he saw only devastation through the cracked view screen. The Wadi capital lay in ruins, the superweapon nothing more than a smoking crater. But the cost had been catastrophic. The remaining human ships were scattered across Heroes' moons, many little more than drifting wreckage. Porter pulled himself to his feet, surveying the damage. "Status report!" "We've lost engines and weapons," Chen coughed through the acrid smoke. "Life support's barely holding. We're going down." The planet's surface rushed up to meet them. Porter braced for impact, his last thought a grim hope that someone, somewhere, had survived to carry on the fight. The crash landing was a blur of screeching metal and shattering bulkheads. When Porter regained consciousness, he found himself in an alien landscape of twisted purple vegetation and crimson skies. A handful of survivors gathered around him, their faces a mix of fear and purpose. "Sir!" a voice called out. Porter turned to see Alara approaching, accompanied by a group of unfamiliar Wadi. "These are insurrectionists," she explained. "They want to help." Porter eyed the aliens warily, his hand instinctively moving to his sidearm. But desperation made for strange bedfellows. He nodded slowly. "All right," he said, his voice hoarse. "Let's see what we're up against." As they made their way through the alien wilderness, Alara and the insurrectionists shared what they knew. The history of Hero Prime unfolded, a tale of genetic manipulation and ancient masters that sent chills down Porter's spine. "So the Wadi were engineered for conquest," Porter mused. "But their creators are long gone. And now the servants fight amongst themselves for control," one of the insurrectionists added bitterly. A distant explosion lit up the horizon. The war for Hero Prime had begun in earnest. Porter knew they needed to act fast if they hoped to salvage anything from this disaster. "We need to regroup," he declared. "Find any other survivors, gather what resources we can, and then—" He paused, his eyes scanning the alien skyline. "Then we find a way to end this, once and for all." As they set out across the shattered landscape of Hero Prime, Porter couldn't shake the feeling that the true test of humanity's perseverance was only just beginning. Porter's boots crunched on the crystalline soil of Hero Prime as he led his ragtag group of human survivors and weighty insurrectionists toward the looming spires of the alien capital. The crimson sky pulsed with energy discharges as battles raged across the planet's surface. "There," Alara pointed, her three-fingered hand indicating a massive structure at the heart of the city. "The Master's hibernation vaults." Porter nodded grimly. "Then that's our target." They fought their way through the chaos-filled streets, plasma bolts sizzling past as they took cover behind twisted alien architecture. Chen's reverse-engineered weapons proved devastatingly effective against the Loyalist Wadi forces. As they neared the central complex, a familiar figure emerged from the shadows, flanked by heavily armed guards. "General Kesrek," Porter growled, raising his weapon. The Wadi commander's eyes glowed with fanatical intensity. "You will not defile our sacred vaults, human." A furious firefight erupted. Porter's team pushed forward inch by inch, their allied Wadi providing crucial intel on weak points in the Loyalist defenses. Finally, with a well-placed grenade from Ivanova, they breached the inner sanctum. The vault stretched before them, a cavernous chamber filled with rows of stasis pods. Each contained a swirling mass of nanites, pulsing with latent energy. "The genetic blueprints of our masters," one of the insurrectionists whispered in awe. Porter strode purposefully toward the control center. "We're activating the revival sequence." Kesrek, now restrained but still defiant, spat on the floor. "You fool! You'll doom us all!" Ignoring the protests, Porter initiated the process. One by one, the pods hissed open. The nanite clouds coalesced into shimmering, vaguely humanoid forms. Their voices reverberated directly in Porter's mind. "We are the Ankalu, or what remains of us." The entities shared their tragic history, their rise, their misguided experiments, and their fall. Porter's mind reeled as he absorbed the cosmic scope of their tale. "We cannot undo the past," the Ankalu intoned, "but perhaps, through you, we can shape a better future." Before Porter could fully process their words, the biomechanical beings surged toward him. He gasped as their essence merged with his consciousness, flooding his synapses with millennia of knowledge and experience. Images cascaded through his mind, vast star fields, the birth of civilizations, the intricate dance of matter and energy across the cosmos. Porter staggered, overwhelmed by the sheer weight of what he now carried within him. As the final fragments of Ankalu consciousness integrated with his own, Porter felt a surge of power unlike anything he had ever known. He understood now what needed to be done. Raising his hands, he channeled the ancient energy outward. Streams of nanites flowed from his fingertips, spreading through the air and permeating the very walls of the structure. What are you doing?" Kesrek demanded, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and awe. Porter's voice resonated with otherworldly harmonics as he replied, "Giving your people a second chance." The nanite swarm expanded exponentially, racing through the city and beyond. Every wadi it touched underwent a profound metamorphosis. The rigid aggression in their eyes softened, replaced by a dawning wonder. Kesrek fell to his knees, tears streaming down his alien features. I can feel it. The hate, the drive to conquer. It's gone. I remember now. I remember who we were meant to be. All across Hero Prime, the Wadi experienced a collective awakening. Centuries of genetic conditioning unraveled in an instant, freeing them to embrace their true potential. Porter watched as the transformed Wadi began to come together, former enemies now joining hands in unity. But even as he witnessed this miraculous rebirth, he felt the weight of his new role settling upon him. The human part of his psyche grappled with the vastness of the Ankalu's cosmic perspective. He now stood at a crossroads between worlds, between phases of existence itself. As the light of a new dawn broke over Hero Prime, Porter turned his gaze to the stars. Humanity's victory had opened the door to something far greater and far more perilous than they could have imagined. Porter's consciousness expanded beyond the confines of his physical form, the Ankalu's ancient knowledge intertwining with his own. He felt the ebb and flow of cosmic energies, the intricate dance of atoms that formed the fabric of reality itself. Yet amidst this transcendent awareness, he remained acutely aware of the conflict brewing around him. Aelora approached, her eyes wide with a mix of awe and concern. "Porter, the transformation is spreading across Hero Prime, but not everyone is embracing it." He nodded, the weight of his new role settling upon him. "We've given them a choice, Aelora. We can't force enlightenment." A distant explosion rocked the ground beneath their feet. Porter's enhanced senses detected the surge of primal fear and anger emanating from pockets of resistance across the planet. "Goran's faction!" Alara hissed, her fingers tightening around her weapon. Porter's mind raced, processing information at speeds that would have been impossible mere hours ago. He saw the intricate web of cause and effect stretching out before him, the potential for unity and the seeds of renewed conflict. "We need to act fast," he said, his voice resonating with newfound authority. "Assemble a team. We'll track down Goran and his loyalists." As they moved through the transformed cityscape, Porter felt the dissonance between his human instincts and the cosmic perspective of the Ankalu. The Gestalt intelligence urged patience, a long view measured in millennia rather than moments. But the soldier in him knew that every second counted. They encountered Kesrek, the former Wadi commander's eyes now filled with a serene clarity. "I want to help," he said simply. Porter nodded, accepting the offer without hesitation. As they continued their hunt, reports flooded in from Earth. Admiral Rhodes's voice crackled over the comm, filled with righteous fury. "This is Admiral Marcus Rhodes of Earth Command. All units are ordered to engage and neutralize any and all Wadi threats. I repeat, full authorization for lethal force against all Wadi targets." Porter's teeth gritted. He could feel the fear and anger radiating from Earth, a tidal wave of emotion threatening to undo everything they had accomplished. "Sir," Chen's voice cut through his thoughts, "we've located Goran's base of operations, but there's something else." The tactical display flickered to life, revealing a massive orbital platform above Hero Prime. Even from this distance, Porter could sense the destructive potential housed within its gleaming hull. "Rhodes," he breathed, "he's bringing the fight to us." As they approached Goran's stronghold, The air crackled with tension. Porter's enhanced senses detected the biosignatures of dozens of Wadi warriors, their genetic code a twisted mockery of the Ankalu's original design. "We're outnumbered," Elara whispered. Porter's mind raced through countless tactical scenarios in an instant. "We don't need to defeat them," he said. "We need to convince them." With a thought, he tapped into the Ankalu's energy, coursing through his veins. A shimmering field enveloped their small team as they strode into the heart of enemy territory. Goran emerged from the shadows, his eyes blazing with fanatical intensity. "You dare bring your corruption here?" "We bring a choice," Porter replied, his voice carrying the weight of eons. "The path of unity or the cycle of destruction. Which will you choose?" As Goran wavered, alarms blared. Rhodes's battle station loomed overhead, its weapons primed to unleash devastation upon the planet below. Porter realized that the true battle was just beginning, not with weapons, but with ideas. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, and he stood at the fulcrum of history. Porter's enhanced mind raced, processing the unfolding chaos. Goran's loyalists surrounded them, weapons trained on his team. Simultaneously, Admiral Rhodes's battle station loomed above, its massive cannons primed to obliterate Hero Prime. "You've played your part well, human," Goran sneered, his eyes gleaming with triumph. "But did you really think we'd ally ourselves with our conquerors?" Elara tensed beside Porter, her hand inching towards her weapon. "It was all a ruse," she hissed. Before Porter could respond, alarms blared throughout the complex. A holographic display flickered to life, showing Rhodes's face twisted with rage. "This ends now," the Admiral growled. "I'm activating the star drive. Every last Wadi on this godforsaken rock will be wiped from existence." Porter's mind, augmented by the Ankalu's cosmic knowledge, instantly grasped the implications. "The subspace shockwave," he breathed. "It'll sterilize the entire planet." Goran laughed, a harsh sound devoid of humor. "You see? Your own kind seeks our annihilation. We have no choice but to strike first." The air crackled with tension as both sides raised their weapons. Porter felt the weight of two civilizations' futures pressing down upon him. In that moment of crisis, a new presence made itself known. "Stand down!" Kesrek's voice boomed through the chamber. The former Wadi commander strode in, flanked by warriors whose eyes shone with the same transcendent light that now filled Porter's being. "Brother," Goran snarled, "have you lost your mind? These humans seek our destruction." Kesrek shook his head sadly. "No, Goran. It is you who cannot see past your own hatred. The Ankalu have shown us a better way." As Kesrek's forces engaged Goran's separatists, Porter locked eyes with Rhodes on the holographic display. "This ends now, Marcus," he said, his voice resonating with otherworldly harmonics. With a burst of Ankalu-enhanced speed, Porter raced through the complex, his team struggling to keep up. They fought their way to the flagship's core, where the star drive hummed with ominous energy. Rhodes stood before the pulsing heart of the machine, his body visibly altered by experimental augmentations. "You're too late, Porter," he sneered. "I'll do what you couldn't. Ensure humanity's survival by any means necessary." The two men clashed in a blur of superhuman speed and strength. Rhodes's enhancements gave him a savage edge, but Porter's Ankalu-infused consciousness allowed him to anticipate his opponent's moves with preternatural accuracy. As they battled, Porter felt the vast cosmic awareness of the Ankalu, straining against the confines of his human mind. Images of galactic scales and incomprehensible vistas threatened to overwhelm him. Rhodes seized the moment of distraction, driving Porter to his knees with a crushing blow. "You've gone soft, Arthur," the Admiral taunted, "infected by alien influence. I'm the only one left who can protect Earth." As Rhodes's hand closed around his throat, Porter felt something snap within his psyche. The full force of the Ankalu's power surged through him, manifesting in a blinding psionic eruption. The release was cataclysmic. Rhodes flew backward, his augmentations overloading in a shower of sparks. The flagship systems went haywire, alarms blaring as the star drive's energy dispersed harmlessly. But the victory came at a terrible cost. Porter collapsed, his mind fracturing under the strain of cosmic awareness. Through fragmenting consciousness, he saw Goran and his loyalists fleeing, a portion of the Wadi gene vault in their possession. Ilara cradled Porter's head, her eyes filled with concern. "Stay with us," she pleaded. "We need you." Porter struggled to form coherent thoughts as the vastness of the Ankalu's knowledge burned away his mortal faculties. With supreme effort, he grasped Ilara's hand. "Protect them," he rasped. "Earth and the new Wadi. Swear it." As Ilara and Kesrek made their solemn vow, Porter felt his consciousness slipping away, drawn into the infinite stellar ocean of the Ankalu's ancestral mind. His last human thought was a flicker of hope for the future he had helped forge. But in the cosmic depths, Porter's essence endured. Adrift in the Ankalu's vast intelligence, he found himself confronted with visions of humanity's potential evolution and glimpses of paradoxical threats that could unravel the very fabric of reality. As his awareness expanded beyond mortal comprehension, Porter realized that his journey, far from ending, had only just begun. As his awareness expanded beyond mortal comprehension, Porter realized that his journey, far from ending, had only just begun. The vast cosmic ocean of the Ankalu's ancestral mind engulfed him, pulling his consciousness across the boundaries of space and time. Visions cascaded through his fractured psyche. He saw humanity reaching for the stars, their ships guided by benevolent Wadi mentors. Earth and Hero Prime united in a golden age of exploration and discovery. But even as hope blossomed, darkness crept at the edges of his perception. Porter's mind splintered, each shard reflecting a different reality. In one, he found himself trapped aboard the Wadi flagship, locked in an eternal struggle with Rhodes. Their battle raged on as the fabric of space-time buckled around them, threatening to tear apart the very foundations of reality. Another fragment revealed a twisted mirror of his actions. The Wadi lay decimated, their civilization reduced to ash. Human extremists, led by a vengeful Rhodes, spread across the galaxy like a plague. Porter watched helplessly as world after world fell to their relentless conquest. The most horrifying visions showed the consequences of his intervention gone awry. Corrupted Ankalu nanites spread unchecked, consuming entire galaxies. Countless beings, their will subsumed by an insatiable hive mind, reached out with tendrils of living darkness. Porter's essence recoiled, seeking refuge in the few timelines where hope still flickered. He glimpsed Alar and Kesrek leading a coalition of humans, an uplifted Wadi, their ships sailing between the stars as peacekeepers and explorers. Yet even here, he sensed a fundamental instability. The truth crystallized in his mind with cold mathematical precision. The Ankalu's hubris had upset the delicate balance of cosmic forces. Reality itself was straining under the weight of their interference. Porter understood what he had to do. His consciousness, infused with the power of the Ankalu, had become a nexus point for these diverging timelines. Only by sacrificing his very existence could he stabilize the mounting paradoxes threatening to unravel all of creation. With his last remnants of individual will, Porter reached out across the dimensional planes. He touched the minds of those who would shape humanity's future, imparting final whispers of guidance and warning. To Alara, he sent a vision of unity and perseverance. To Kesrek, a reminder of the Wadi's true potential. And to the next generation of leaders on Earth and Hero Prime, he offered glimpses of the wonders and perils that awaited them among the stars. As his essence began to diffuse, Porter embraced the totality of his sacrifice. He spread himself thin across the multiverse, becoming a living mortar to seal the cracks in reality's foundation. The pain was excruciating, beyond anything a human mind could comprehend. Yet Porter endured, driven by the knowledge that his actions would preserve countless worlds and the billions of lives that called them home. In his final moments of coherence, Porter experienced a profound sense of connection to the cosmic tapestry. He felt the birth of stars, the collision of galaxies, the quiet deaths of universes. As his consciousness dispersed into the very constants that governed existence, Porter knew that his journey had been just one thread in an infinite, ever-renewing cosmic dance. The last embers of Arthur Porter's mortal self faded, merging with the fundamental forces of creation. Yet something of him remained, a whisper in the cosmic wind, a guardian embedded in the very fabric of space-time. And as new realities blossomed from the seeds of his sacrifice, the universe itself seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Across countless worlds, life continued its relentless march toward the future. Ships bearing the combined legacy of humanity and the Wadi charted new frontiers. And in the depths of space, ancient forces stirred, their awakening heralding challenges yet to come for those who would inherit the stars.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.